Okay. Welcome everyone to How Healthy Girls Talk. Tonight, we are going to talk about 3 belief shifts that you need to change your story. Some of you might be like, what do you mean? What story are we going to talk about? And we're going to talk about that. But before we jump into the meat of tonight's class, I'm going to tell you all 3 things about me. Is that okay? So number 1 is that I am a full-time work from home mom of 4 kids. I have 3 boys and 1 girl ranging from 10 years old all the way down to almost 1 in 6 days. You'll be 1 in 6 days. Number 2 is I run a full-time nutrition coaching business from my house, coaching women and sometimes their husbands too, every single day to find happiness. Yep, happiness. While yes, we do focus on health and nutrition and education and exercise, I'm actually just inspiring my clients every single day to believe in themselves, to rewrite the story that you tell yourself so you can change the legacy of health for your family and for yourself, so that you can really feel confident from the grocery store aisle shopping to the hallway of your kids' school. And the third thing that I will tell y'all is that until the year of 2020, I had never exercised consistently for 1 month of my entire life. I didn't even know what a macronutrient was. I was living on stress, 3 p.m. naps, fast food, and Diet Cokes every single day. Sometimes fast food multiple times a day. And this wasn't like a small period of time that I went through. This was like a large chunk of time that I went through, years of my life that I lived this way. I was surviving, not thriving. Until I found a program that literally changed my life, changed the trajectory of my life and my family's life. And almost 4 years later, I haven't looked back and I still sit here today feeling healthier than I've ever felt. So tonight, we are going to talk about beliefs, mindset. So before we jump into these 3 belief shifts that I'm talking about, I want you to give me a 1 in the chat if you have ever heard the phrase, change your thoughts, change your life. Change your thoughts, change your life. We as humans want our actions every single day to be in alignment with our goals, right? Like whatever our goals are, like if we want to get healthier, if we want to lose weight, we want our actions to reflect that. We want to exercise, we want to, eat healthy and all of the things. But this is easier said than done, right? You likely know you should eat healthier, right? You know that you should exercise in order to reach these goals. But are your actions actually in alignment with these goals? You know what actions to take, so why don't we take them? Why don't you do it consistently? It is likely because of your beliefs. Your beliefs about yourself, how you talk to yourself, those beliefs are so deep rooted. See, your beliefs influence your thoughts and your actions, okay? Your thoughts and your actions. So if you say, I believe that my daughter is going to have a temper tantrum because she's bad, whatever, you're going to be thinking in that realm, right? You're going to be thinking, oh my God, when is it coming? Like, when is she going to start screaming? Oh my gosh, here it comes. That's going to make you feel a certain way. And that's going to make you act a certain way, right? That is what we talk about when we say you want to be in alignment. So if you've heard that, it's kind of a little bit woo woo, but if you've heard that, like, are you in alignment? Like, are your goals in alignment? Are your actions in alignment? It's all comes down to your beliefs. So the first belief shift that we're going to talk about tonight is that there is no rush to get to your goal. There is no timeline. How many, drop a 1 in the chat. How many of you currently think in this moment that you would be a happier human every single day when you woke up, if you had achieved your health and weight loss goals. Like if you were fitting in the clothes you wanted to fit in, had lost the 15 pounds, drop a 1 in the chat if you think you'd be happier, more happy, more confident. So because of that belief, I will be more happy and confident if I lose weight. Because of that, you want it to happen fast, right? Like you want to get there faster, because the faster you get there, the faster you're happy, right? The faster you lose weight, the faster you reach your goals, the faster you fit into the clothes, look a certain way, you will be happier, right? That's why you want it to be fast, because you desire that feeling so much. So I want to tell y'all a quick story about a client of mine. A couple months ago, I was talking to a postpartum mom client of mine who I think was 5 months postpartum with her second baby. And she was feeling down on herself. She hadn't made the progress that she wanted to be making at this point. She was exclusively breastfeeding. Her pictures showed drastic change. Her inches showed drastic change, but the scale wasn't changing. And she was so tied to that scale number, right? And so she was telling me, Emily, I just don't understand. And I said, well, let's go back. Let's go back, Sam. I said, before you got pregnant, you were at a weight that you want to be at right now, right? And I said, how did you feel then when you were that weight? And she was like, not good, not good. I felt big then. I felt like not happy then, not confident. And I was like, okay, so right now you're telling me that is your goal, to get back to that weight, but you're also telling me you weren't happy at that weight. Anybody resonating with this? You are in such a rush to lose weight by XYZ date. Maybe it's like a wedding or a vacation that you want to go in, or like a class reunion. Like you have this like deadline that you need to be like losing weight by this date, that the reason you feel like you need to be 100% all in, if you don't do every single thing perfectly in the diet, then you fail and you do nothing because you're in such a rush. I only have 6 weeks to lose 10 pounds, so I have to be perfect for 6 weeks, because you think that you're chasing this feeling of happiness. And you think that in 6 weeks, if you've lost the 10 pounds, then you're going to be magically happy. You're chasing the feeling that you think you're going to have when you lose the weight. So the belief shift that we're going to talk about is that there is no rush, because the feeling that you're chasing isn't in losing the 15 pounds. The happiness is going to come from making promises and keeping them to yourself, keeping promises to yourself. And making lifestyle changes take time. Okay. It does not take 6 weeks to make a lifestyle change. It does not take 6 months to make a lifestyle change. For some people, it takes years to make a lifestyle change. I would say that my first 2 years doing this program, the first year as a client and the second year as a coach, like making this a lifestyle for me didn't happen until like year 3, to where it feels innate, where like I don't have to track my macros every single day. I just automatically work out because it's just such a habit. It's such a discipline that I have now. But it took years, right? Making a lifestyle change takes time, and it starts with a 2-degree shift. A 2-degree shift. A little bit at a time, because there is no finish line. You aren't going to feel magically happy when you lose 15 pounds. There's so much evidence from this. There's no rush. There's no deadline. This journey isn't linear. It doesn't look like this, or I guess like this, if you're talking about weight loss, like you're not going to just all go perfectly down, or like happiness doesn't just go straight up. The journey isn't linear, and actually failing along the way, or failing like some of you think you do, like I just fail at every diet. Failing actually teaches us something. It's actually a good thing. Something that's really interesting about people is that you love to have something to look forward to, like losing the 15 pounds. You're like looking forward to it. So it makes you like work towards the goal. But then you reach the goal and you realize like life actually isn't better. Like you still have the same problems, just like Sam that I was talking about. You still have the same life problems. You're still dealing with the same stuff every day. So sometimes subconsciously, you just want something to look forward to so much that like you get to the goal and you're just like, okay, what's the next goal? Okay, what's the next goal? And you're not actually like achieving the happiness that you think you're going to achieve. There's a book that I read recently called The Gap and the Gain, and it talks about how we set goals, but even when we achieve them, we aren't happy because we're constantly in pursuit of the next goal. And ideal happiness is standing where we started and looking where we are now and realizing that what we have, what we are in pursuit of, that is where the happiness is. It's in the journey. So you have to tell yourself that there's no rush. You have to believe it. Happiness comes from who you become along the way to your goal, not at the end goal. This actually happens a lot around like other goals too. Like if you want to, like, if you have a goal of like making more money, like, have you ever had a goal of making more money? Like think about like your life 10 years ago and like how much money you made. And like, you're like, oh, if I could just make this much, then I would be happier. And then like 10 years pass and you're making that much. And you're like, okay, well now if I just can make this much, like in 10 years from now, maybe you don't actually achieve what you think you're going to achieve just by making more money. It's the same thing with weight. Jordan Peterson in his 12 rules for life talks about how happiness is actually a pointless goal to pursue because it's fleeting, it's temporary, and the state of happiness is so dependent on external circumstances. Instead, he argues that individuals should focus on developing virtues and personal responsibility to themselves. This is actually what's going to lead to a more fulfilling and meaningful life. He also emphasizes that happiness should be viewed as a byproduct of pursuing one's goals rather than the ultimate goal itself. We're all going to have these moments of unhappiness. So if like one day you're unhappy, does that mean you failed? True satisfaction comes from personal responsibility to yourself. So instead of being in such a race to get to your goal weight, because that's when you'll be happy, find it in the journey. Find it by taking personal responsibility for yourself. Finding joy in the journey and who you become along the way and how you feel about yourself, taking that personal responsibility and keeping promises to yourself along the way versus the end goal that you think will bring happiness. What would you be like if you stopped avoiding what you knew you needed to do? Your fears. Exposing ourselves to things that you're avoiding and are afraid of, and teaching you really to stand up in the face of things you're afraid of, that's how you get stronger. What makes you think that having restraint or sacrificing things in your life, setting those boundaries, taking that personal responsibility, what makes you think you shouldn't have to do that? So often I hear people that are like, I want to do your program, but like, I need to make sure it needs to be really easy and really simple. And I'm like, what makes you think that changing your life should be easy and simple? Why is it being hard a reason to not do it? Leaning in is when you grow. So maybe this first belief shift for you, or maybe this first belief shift is why diets haven't worked for you in the past. Maybe your story is that you have a fear of macros or a fear of tracking food or a hatred of exercise. And these stories you're telling yourself are holding you back. These stories can change. Your story can change. And this really brings me to my second belief shift, which is that it doesn't have to feel hard, especially if you take the timeline away, which we talked about in belief shift 1. The way that your thoughts focus affects your reality, the story that you tell yourself every single day. So our egos as humans, like our egos want that immediate result, right? If you don't see the difference, if you're, like of 100% that you want, then you're out. You're like, I can't do this anymore. If you don't stop telling yourself that it's too hard, then it's going to be hard. If you don't stop telling yourself that it's not going to work, then it's not going to work. When you tell yourself something, anything, whatever your story is, when you tell yourself that, you think it in your brain actually starts looking for evidence that that's true, like truly. So tell yourself that you hate working out, and your brain is going to remember that time when you were 19 that you almost passed out in a workout. And that's the evidence for why you hate working out, right? Tell yourself that you can't be successful because you don't have a supportive spouse and your husband, buys Oreos and chips and whatever at the grocery store every week. And so you tell yourself, like, I can't be successful. My husband's not supportive. Your brain is going to find that time that he bought the Oreos. Like, you're going to find the evidence for it. Tell yourself that you hate meal prepping. Like, I don't want to meal prep. I hate meal prepping. I don't want to spend, 4 hours on a Sunday doing that, which that's not what meal prep is. But if you tell yourself you hate it, you're going to remember that time that you were yelling at your kids in the kitchen on Sunday because they wouldn't stop being crazy and you were trying to be focused and meal prep. And like, that's why your brain finds that evidence, right? If you tell yourself that macro tracking is so tedious and so time consuming, guess what? Your brain is going to find evidence for it. These circumstances, all of those things that I said, these might be very true. You might have an unsupportive husband. Tracking macros might take you more time than eventually it will. Maybe you don't enjoy working out right now. But is it helpful for you to think that way? Is it helpful to you? Is it helpful in your journey to believe that and to think that way, to talk to yourself like that? If you want to take the actions of a healthy girl, you have to be her. You have to be a healthy girl right now. Start being her today. And you have to talk like her. One of my clients, her name's Kat. She is a CEO of a multi-million-dollar business. She's a toddler and she's breastfeeding a baby. And she is a client of mine. She started back in October. But before that, she always told herself the story that she hated working out. She didn't have time to work out. She didn't like it working out. She wasn't like a workout girl. She's like, I was just like not a workout girl. I didn't like cooking. I didn't like meal prepping. It felt hard. And this was keeping her from doing it. These were just stories that she was telling herself. And yeah, if you tell yourself that, that's what you're going to think. She joined my program in October. And she texted me a couple weeks ago and she told me, Emily, I literally beg my babysitter to stay for 30 extra minutes when I get home from work so I can get my workout in. She told me a couple weeks ago this was a couple months. This was like back in May. So we're in June, a month ago. She told me they were having a big launch for her company at the beginning of May. And she's super extra busy, like preparing for this big launch and like just a lot of extra work. And she was like, oh my gosh, Emily, like I've been kind of behind on grocery shopping. Like I haven't been grocery shopping like I need to be. I haven't been meal prepping like I need to be. And it feels so hard. She said, Emily, not meal prepping and not cooking is so much harder than doing it. She was like, I am lost without it. And so she was like, my life has felt so much more bearable since I've had a plan to follow. And she realizes now that what she thought was hard actually is much easier. It's actually harder not to have a plan. It's actually harder not to meal prep. So you have to choose your hard, right? She just had to stop telling herself that story. I'm actually trained in sales through a company called Guide Culture. And one of the CEOs taught me about a concept called a thought ladder. And it's basically when you think of something or you tell yourself something, you're talking to yourself, right? You tell yourself something constantly, but you want to like believe something else. So it's like, how do you get from point A to point B? So maybe you've realized that what's holding you back is that you've been telling yourself for years that losing weight is going to be the hardest thing that you've ever done. It's just so hard. You've been telling yourself that for years. But if you really pondered that, you may be actually like, wait, okay, actually it's not the hardest thing I've ever done. There are harder things that I've done in life before. I've dealt with harder things. So then you move up a thought ladder where you change your thought just a little bit. You don't go from like losing weight is the hardest thing I've ever done to losing weight is the easiest thing I've ever done. That's like impossible for you to get to point A to point B. But what if you just change the thought to losing weight is the hardest thing that I've ever done to I just keep thinking that losing weight is the hardest thing I've ever done. And then slowly you move to another thought. I'm actually open to the thought that weight loss could be enjoyable. And you keep moving up the thought ladder and you keep moving to the next positive thought. And before you know it, you can actually embrace the journey from a place where it does feel like it can be enjoyable because you're telling yourself that. And all this is starting with being honest that the thoughts that you're telling yourself are just stories. They're not truth. And so often they are lies. Like her telling herself that losing weight is the hardest thing she's ever going to do. That's a lie. Like she's probably going to do so many harder things. And so it's moving up the thought ladder to change your thoughts, and really embracing that journey. And sometimes you just need someone like me to help you shift that belief. Okay. Belief shift number 3. And I want you to drop a 1 in the chat for this one too. Anyone ever deal with self-sabotage where you're like, you're going along, you're doing great, and then like you do something wrong. And so you like just blow it out the water. So shifting from an all or nothing mindset to a progress over perfection mindset. That's the third belief shift. I had someone in my DMs a couple weeks ago tell me that she when she cheats and has a cookie, she feels like a failure. So she eats like the whole package of cookies. Screw it, right? Like I'm already messed up. I already ate, or you ate one bad meal. So you're like, I might as well make all the meals of my day bad. Sometimes your daily binging is a result of restriction because that's what you've been taught that works. Restrict calories, lose weight. You're going to reach your goals, right? But it's not that simple. And that's why my program teaches so much science behind how your body works. Your lack of consistency in dieting so often is actually not your fault. You don't have to follow every principle 100% perfectly 100% of the time. You don't have to complete the strategy perfectly every single day to see progress. It's again, a 2-degree shift that you need. Focusing on 1 or 2 things that you can do consistently, because when you can do that, when you can focus on, I need to plug my computer in. When you can focus in on 1 or 2 things consistently, do you know what that does? That creates confidence. And when you have that confidence, you can add 1 or 2 more things because you're like, okay, week 1, like I'm going to focus on getting to sleep before 10 p.m. and I'm going to focus on walking for 30 minutes every single day. And when you do that, you're like, oh, okay, I can do this. All right, next week, I'm going to focus on doing 2 workouts on top of my walks, and I'm going to get to bed at the right time, and I'm going to track my food and see like if I can hit my protein goal, right? And then you prove to yourself that you can do that. You can keep promises. And then that creates more confidence. And this confidence that builds week over week creates momentum. And momentum is what creates change. Before you know it, you will be unrecognizable. But you have to go back to that timeline thing, right? Like the timeline thing comes back in because it's like, you don't want to work on this for a year, you don't want to do this for 2 years or 3 years or 4 years. You give it like a few months, 4 months, 5 months of halfway doing it. And then when your body isn't drastically different after 10 plus years of yo-yo dieting, you give up because you're in a rush. And it's because you believe that you're going to be happy when you get to the goal. Do you see how your mindset plays such an important part in this? This third belief shift starts with knowledge, okay? Knowledge of how the body works. How does your body work? How does metabolism work? How do you increase your metabolic rate to burn more calories each day without doing, 3 hours of cardio? Spoiler alert, it's actually not by doing a ton of cardio or by cutting carbs or drastically slashing your calories. That's not how your body works. Your body's actually going to push against that. Knowing how your body works instills belief because it's literally science. Your body is actually not broken. Maybe that's a story you've been telling yourself. But how long did it take you to get to where you are right now? How many years have you tried to do the same diet off and on again and off and on again? Did you lose quick weight? Did you keep it off? Looks like your fast way to lose weight isn't so fast if you gained the weight back. You didn't get where you are right now in this moment on this call in a few weeks. You didn't gain weight in a few months. You've been dieting for years. I did a poll on my Instagram story, I think like last month in May. asking like how long people had been dieting. And out of over 300 people that answered it, 90% of the people said they've been dieting for 10 plus years. And this is why the fastest way to lose weight is to do it slowly without a timeline. Maybe the pounds are going to come off a little slower. Maybe the first few months, you're just going to be focusing on feeling better and keeping those promises and making those 2-degree shifts. But when you're not focused on going from 0 to 100 in week 1, and you take it in small bites, all of a sudden it becomes enjoyable enough to actually stick with it. So you keep going, the weight stays off, and then you're able to change your goals, shift your goals. All of a sudden losing weight is enjoyable. And you are becoming this person on a journey that makes promises and keeps them to yourself. So if you shift your beliefs, if you shift into being her right now, the healthy person, the happy person that you want to be today, by taking in the good in your life, focusing on the good things and speaking positive thoughts, talking positively to yourself, all of a sudden you're happier right now. You're happier right now. You don't have to wait till you lose 15 pounds to be happy. And when you feel happy today, there is no rush. There's no timeline. You can rewrite the narrative that you actually enjoy working out. You actually do have time to meal prep. Tracking macros actually takes like 10 to 15 minutes of your day if you have dedicated intentional time to it. But what so many people do is like they get on their phone to track and then they get sidetracked and then they check a text message and they read an email, then they're scrolling on social media, then they get back to macro tracking, then their kid comes in and like 2 hours later, they're like, see, macro tracking is just too hard. It takes 2 hours, but really like it didn't take 2 hours. You just were doing all other kinds of things during those 2 hours, right? You do have the time to learn the skill set of macro tracking. If you have time to get in bed at 9:30 at night and scroll your phone or watch Netflix for an hour and a half before you fall asleep, you do have time. All you have to do is start with a 2-degree shift. Then would it be worth it to you? The time investment. You're busy. I know that. I hear you. We're all busy. Like every single person on this call is so busy. We probably all have kids. We all have things we're doing. We all have vacations. We all have activities, right? But I want you to picture this. 6 months from now, you wake up. It's the holidays. You feel energized. Your mornings are going so much smoother because you actually slept better. You aren't yelling at your kids to hurry up, get in the car, fussing at them in the carpool line. Your days feel happier. You have energy to go for a walk. You actually want to prioritize your 30-minute workout. No post-lunch naps because you ate too much at lunch. No 3 p.m. coffee is even necessary. Dinner time activities feel so much smoother. You're in bed by 9:30, lights are out, and TV's off by 10. Do you believe that if you had more energy, that everyone else in a positive way, your kids would benefit, your friends would benefit, your family would benefit, your husband would benefit, your boss, your employees? That is the kind of impact you can have if you start talking to yourself in the right way. We as humans invest time and money in things that bring us value. Do you see the value in putting yourself at the top of the list each and every day, above your kids, above your husband? There is so much value there. And you can change your story to that like you are the number one person that you should focus on each day. Because I can guarantee you that your kids will be happier and your spouse will be happier if you put yourself as number one. Put yourself over number one, over the work email that needs to be answered right now, over the dishes in the sink that need to be picked up because like, who cares like if your kitchen's clean or not, right? This is how you create a life that you love. The other day, I was actually looking at a consult for something that I was interested in doing. It was like a health-related consult, some functional testing. And the cost for a 45-minute consult was $150. And I noticed that my brain automatically thought, oh, that's not too bad, because that service is something I value so much. We will absolutely spend money on things we value. Amazon sweatsuit, because it's trendy for $50, done. Starbucks $8 latte, like every day, $200 a month, done. Target trip for literally nothing, and then you leave and you spend $175. Like you do that without blinking. My health, $199 for 6 weeks. I don't know. I'm gonna have to think about it. Like, I don't know if I can don't know if I can swing that. Normally, naturally, it feels like you might be like, oh, I don't know, it's kind of expensive, or that, these are thoughts, but you spend money on what you value. Do you value your health enough? Do you value putting yourself first enough? If you're a VIP client of mine, $79 a month or whatever rate you pay for VIP, is that enough? Do I value that enough? Do I value my health enough to pay that for the workouts, for the, coaching, for these group calls? Do you know that the average cost for a personal trainer is $75 an hour at the gym that I go to? It's like $140 an hour for 1 hour. The national average for a dietitian per hour is $78 to $116 per hour for just an initial visit. Those things actually don't sound that expensive to me because that is how much I value my health. I know how much better my entire life is when I prioritize my health. And I know with 100% certainty how much better your life is if you valued your health, if you prioritized your health, if you had a coach and a community to hold you to it. So I'm going to tell you quickly how you can work with me. This coming Monday, June 26th, I will be starting a new program for 6 weeks where I take on new clients. Through this program, you are going to gain nutrition knowledge to make these 3 belief shifts that I talked to you about. And what that means to you is that you will be eating the right amount for your body to fuel and support yourself on a daily basis, to fuel your body for your goals. And these things are going to be paired strategically with the most efficient workouts for your body. But the real value here, is that you're actually going to believe in yourself again. You are going to love getting dressed again. You are going to look in the mirror and love what you see. You are going to feel as sexy as your husband thinks you are. And you're going to walk down the halls of your kid's school with confidence next to the other moms. And that's what you really want, isn't it? That's what you really want. It's not about being like hot in a bikini. You just want to feel good every day. You want to feel good. You want to feel happy. You want to feel confident. And you can. If you believe in yourself, if you talk to yourself, if you be her today, if you take a chance on yourself, that's what you want. So my question for you is, are you going to register for the June 26th round today? Or are you going to wait another 6 months and keep coming up with excuses? The choice is yours. Okay, I'm going to check and see if there's any questions. Looks like lots of ones. Thank y'all so much for joining me tonight. I hope that this was helpful. I hope this showed you that you can change your story. You can shift these beliefs. I see it every single day with my clients. It's not going to happen overnight. It takes time, but there is no timeline. There's no deadline. You just have today. And I want to be there for you today. So DM me on Instagram, send me an email. Let's talk about getting you started on Monday with my program. Have a good night, guys. Bye.